What up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back with MLB Power Rankings Week 12. And of course, we have the Yankees still at 1, but with some shakeup in the top 5 and even the top 10. Make sure you guys stay till the end to see where your team is going to rank here. But we'll get into it here at 30th. We get the A's staying here. The biggest story for them last week, Frankie Montas, 7 2/3, no hitter before he gave up his first hit. And they eventually lost that game 2-1 in the ninth because of some wild pitches. And I think he's going to be probably one of the best trade candidates for this year's deadline in about a month. With that 3.21 ERA, 92 Ks, he's putting his team in the position to win, and they still can't even get it done for him. And they're 5-19 their last 24. There was some brief hope in early May that this team wasn't going to be terrible, but here they are, well under 500. And then 29th, we got the Reds dropping a little bit as well. They're the worst team in the MLB in terms of the ERA at 5.39. Luis Castillo could be another candidate that's going to get dealt. He's been pitching well since he's been back after his, later start in the year. They're 2-8 in their last 10, and they got 6 games this week against the Cubs at their place and 3 in Atlanta at home. 28th, we have the Nationals moving up one. Not much going on here, just better record-wise. Josh Bell and Nelson Cruz were probably some good trade candidates as well for them. Josiah Gray, he's been putting up an excellent year after he came over in the Trey Turner Max Scherzer deal last year. Soto's been struggling at the plate, but his on-base percentage has been pretty good to make up for it. And they have 6 home games this week against some lower-end teams. 27th, I have the Royals here, not moving. The young guys, Melendez, Witt, Olivares are looking good for the Royals. And I think they could be a team in a few years that could get to the playoffs. Obviously, this year is just more of developing. And now, especially with Salvador Perez out 8 weeks after thumb surgery, Melendez is going to get a lot of at-bats. And that's good, he's the guy of the future, as Salvi could transition over to strictly DH for next year. Who knows? But this week, they have Texas at home and then going into Detroit. And I will be at 2 of those games, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that little vlog I'll be at. 26th, we got the Chicago Cubs. They're still 2 of 3 from the Cardinals on the road this last week. Wilson Contreras could be dealt as well if they want to, get something good in return. He's going to be probably one of the best catchers on the market for the trade deadline. Seiya Suzuki, after he kind of disappeared a little bit, he's been injured. That's why they need his bat in the line. Just his presence is huge for the Cubs. And they got 6 games at home against the terrible Reds and then the red hot Red Sox. 25th, we got my Tigers staying pat. 4-4 since Riley Green got called up. This team has been playing much better. It seems like he is that spark that the team needed. Baez has been scorching hot as well. His last 15 days, 319 average, 4 home runs, 10 RBIs. I mean, that's all he's done this year, it seems like, ever since opening day. They still got tons of guys on the IL. I mean, the whole rotation besides Scooble isn't even back yet. They only have 5 games this week, 2 in San Francisco, and then they head home. And I'll get to see him play on Friday and Saturday. 24th, we got the Pirates staying put, 5-15 in their last 20. They're a really bad hitting team. But O'Neal Cruz is a positive sign. He's had 250 average, 7 RBIs in his first week getting called up. They have 7 games this week against the dismal Nationals, and then 4 at home against the Brewers. Dropping a few, we got the Rockies at 31-42. They had a terrible road trip, 1-5 against the Marlins and Twins. But despite that, they do have the 3rd best batting average in the league, and they're also 6th best in on-base percentage as well. But where this team fails is pitching. They're bottom 3 in almost every major pitching stat. This week, they got 6 games at home against the Dodgers, top 5 team, and then against those D-backs. Speaking of them, they went 1-5 as well last week against the Padres and Tigers. They're bottom 10 in hitting and pitching, and we're starting to see them slide down farther and farther in the rankings here after they were consistently around 15. But now the NL West is really going to get to them. They're slowing this team down from winning more games. It's a good team, but just unfortunate they're in that division. And they only have 5 games this week, 2 against the Padres at home, and then 3 on the road at Colorado. 21st, we have the Angels dropping a lot, and there's going to be some teams maybe with some better records, you could say, ahead of them, but this team is just, kind of lost it. They got hot there for a quick second, and then now it just seems like they've just fallen right back to where they were. That huge brawl yesterday kind of ignited some things. Maybe it'll be a good sign in the right direction, unite all the players. and get them, motivated. But besides Trout and Ohtani, this team really has nothing to watch for it. And they got 6 games this week against some as good or even really good teams. It's going to be a tough week for them. The Orioles earning their highest ranking of the year in 20th. And despite that, they're still in last place in the AL East by 19 and a half games. For the Yankees, they're 10-5 in their last 15, which is a positive sign. And I think, if you go into this year, you're thinking the Orioles will be one of the worst teams in baseball. But here they are, only 6 games back from 500 and in a very good AL East as well, which is very shocking. This week, they got 6 road games in Seattle and Minnesota. And I think, they can go 3-3, 4-2. Because this Orioles team loves to compete. 19th, we've got the Marlins moving up one. This team's been right around this range for the whole year. Garrett Cooper's been hitting 307. He's been a solid bat for all you fantasy guys out there. He's been putting up pretty good numbers. Sandy Alcantara, 1.95 ERA with 94 Ks, 106 innings pitched. He's looking like almost a lock for the All-Star game starter, just how good he's been. And then I think one thing that's been hurting this team from their full potential is Jazz. He's been playing, it seems like, every other day, getting a little tweak injury here to here because I have him on fantasy. So I've been noticing he's kind of, not playing every single day if they want him to. But they have 6 games this week all on the road, 3 against the Cardinals and 3 against the Nationals. 18th, we've got the Mariners making a huge jump. And that's thanks to them going 5-6 on their road trip last week in California. But we got to talk about this team in the brawl as well. They lost their manager, Jesse Winkler, Julio Rodriguez, and J.P. Crawford for that game. I'm sure suspensions will be handed out after this video is made. But they're 12 games back in the AL West to Houston. I don't see them slowing me down anytime. And they have 7 games at home as well. 17th, we have the Chicago White Sox dropping a spot. I think this team can still turn it around, but I think to do that, they're going to have to get rid of La Russa. He told his players to slow it down, run into first base. I mean, who says that as a manager? I know that they've had injuries with lots of leg injuries and whatnot, but I just don't think that's the right thing to say. Doing so, they couldn't get that offense going last weekend against the Orioles. They only scored 7 runs in those 4 games. And then Eli got transferred to the 60-day IL. Danny Mendick is out for the season with the torn ACL. So they called up Sosa, and we're going to see how he does. But they got 6 games on the road as well in California. Rangers moving up 2 to 16th. Abdullah Garcia has been absolutely tearing the cover off the ball. 315 average, 7 home runs, 16 RBIs in 23 games in June. He is really putting on. I thought, he'd kind of be a one-hit wonder after that April he put up, but he's been really picking it up as well. Making this Rangers team a very scary lineup. Martin Perez as well. Could he be a trade candidate depending on what this team decides to do around the deadline? Because that's an interesting piece for sure. He's been putting up good numbers as well. But they have 6 road games as well against the Royals and Mets. Phillies, the biggest thing we're going to talk about them here is Harper on the IL with a broken thumb. Nobody knows when he'll be back. Hopefully it's sooner rather than later for the game of baseball. Everyone needs Harper in just to watch. He's a great guy to watch. But Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola, they've been really lights out as a pitching staff this year. 195 Ks and 171 innings. And they have 6 tough games this week all at home against the Red Hot Braves and then against the Cardinals. 14th, we have the Guardians. They're on a 4-game losing streak currently, but I still believe this team could, squeak into the postseason there, maybe earn that 6th seed because, all these AL East teams are really good. But Jose Ramirez has been hitting really well. Shane Bieber pitching really good as well in his bounce back year. And they have 8 games this week, 5 against the Twins at home and 3 against the Yankees. And that game, those games against the Twins, they're 2 games back for that division lead. That's going to be a big series for them. 13th, we have the Rays dropping as well. Isaac Paredes coming over in that Austin Meadows trade. He had a big week, 19 at-bats, 11 hits, 5 home runs, and 9 RBIs. Shane McClanahan, he's been absolutely a beast on the mound. 1.77 ERA, 123 Ks and 91 innings. No one's really been able to touch him up and get much out of him from a hitting standpoint. But positive news, Wander Franco is back after his almost month absence. And they have 7 games this week, 2 against Milwaukee, which should be a quick, good series, and then 5 in Toronto. And, it's going to be interesting to see how that's played due to, the COVID rules. I don't know all the players that will be making the trip, but I'm sure some will miss. 12th, we have the Cardinals dropping out of the top 10. They're getting back from the Brewers from the NL Central. I think that's going to be close this whole year. They're 9-11 in their last 20, and that's kind of why I've started to free fall on them a little bit because they were hot, surging, and now they've started to struggle. But if they stay around 500, I think this team is going to have a shot going into the last week of the season. And Jack Flaherty, he left with a stiff shoulder yesterday, so that's something to monitor as well this week. 11th, we have the Brewers staying pat. They got a game lead on those Cardinals for the NL Central. They're 9-5 in their last 14, and that's why I feel like they just still had to stay ahead of those Cardinals. Woodruff is back starting tomorrow in Tampa, and Hunter Renfroe got put on the 10-day IL. And hopefully Freddy Peralta can be back soon. I know he's throwing, but we don't know to what extent it is. But they got 6 games this week, all on the road. Starting our top 10, we have the Giants barely making the cut here after they fell a little bit. They were 2-6 in their last 8 games, and they went from 3 games back to 6.5 back in the NL West. And it happens that quick because of how good the Dodgers and Padres are in that division. I think they're going to be okay. They're top 10 in hitting, middle of the pack for pitching, and I think that could be a team that adds a rotational arm like Montas or Martin Perez or Luis Castillo. I think this team could be in the running for one of those guys. And Brandon Crawford left. He's on a 10-day IL stint with the left knee inflammation. Hopefully they can get him back soon, get the veteran captain leader back. 9th, we have the Twins staying put. I think the biggest story right now is Luis Arraez with a 349 average, 427 on base percentage, absolutely tearing it up. Byron Buxton as well. He's tearing the cover off the ball, finally healthy for a whole year, it seems like. And they're back on top of the AL Central with that 2-game lead over Cleveland. But we're going to just have to see how good this team is going to be because their pitching coach just departed today for LSU. And, this staff has been really good this year, but it'll be interesting to see how they will perform without him. 8th, we have the Blue Jays. They're dropping as well. That's mostly just in part to some teams that are getting hot right now at the right time. The thing here is catcher. Who's going to keep catching these games after Danny Jansen gets back? It's going to be Moreno. It's going to be Christian Kirk. Is it going to be Jansen? I don't know. Maybe they could deal one of those guys off because they have a logjam there and get a good piece in return for this year to complete their roster. The thing that shocks me the most is this team, has been struggling a little bit, and that's mostly in part to that team ERA of 4.78. And they have 6 games this week. They have 8 games this week, 3 against Boston at home, and then 5 against Tampa at home as well. And here at 7, we have the Boston Red Sox making probably one of the highest jumps in this power rankings history, moving up 7 spots. And that's just in part to them just absolutely, tearing the cover off the ball, winning all these good games. And I believe they were on a 5-game win streak before they lost yesterday. And that's why they're here. Chris Sale, is he going to be back soon? Hopefully. He just threw 3 innings in a rehab start. James Paxton and Nathan Eovaldi, they're looking around the All-Star break as well. And considering they don't even have those 3 starters right now, this makes this team really deadly coming out of the All-Star break. 6th, we have the Braves moving up 1 as well. They're 19-5 in their last 24. Max Fried and Kyle Wright have been dealing this year as well. And Dansby Swanson, I think a lot of people were kind of thinking it was a fluke year last year, but he's still just absolutely performing really well right now. You can't really say much about the kid. He's doing really well. But their biggest concern is Acuna right now. He fouled a ball off his foot. He didn't play yesterday. It's day-to-day right now, but we'll have to see how that goes in the next upcoming days. And the last thing is Freddy Freeman had that emotional return on Friday night. And it seems like, his heart is still in Atlanta after Kershaw called him out on the comments today. They got 6 games on the road this week, 3 in Philly and 3 in Cincy. Starting in the top 5 with the Padres dropping down a spot. And their biggest hope right now is Tatis. After he's ramping up his swing intensity, they're shooting for around the All-Star break. Their top 5 pitching team as well this year, and that Sean Manaea trade is paying off really well for them. Machado is pretty much carrying the team for hitting-wise. And they're 2 games back for the Dodgers after last week only being a half game back. But they can make it up this weekend if they go into LA and possibly get 3 out of 4. 4th, we have those Dodgers jumping the Padres due to last week. And hopefully they can get Mookie back for this series, the big series, because they got that 2-game lead that they need to keep. But they're a top 3 team in every major stat category right now. It just seems like this team is on a crash course for another World Series run. Tony Gonzalen, 1.58 ERA, 69 Ks, and a 9-0 record this year in 74 innings pitched. He's just been a beast as well, as long as Tyler Anderson as well. He's been great. But they have 7 games against divisional opponents this week. 3rd, we have the New York Mets falling a spot as well. They do have that 5 game lead on the Braves for the NL East, so no room to panic right now. But Scherzer, is he going to be back for this weekend? DeGrom after the All-Star break, and same for Tyler Miguel. Those are two guys that they need back, especially, I mean, obviously Scherzer will be back sooner, but those are some key pieces that the Mets need if they want to make a postseason run. And I know they don't want to rush them back because they're doing so well right now. When is it going to be the right time is the biggest question. Pete Alonso and Starling Marte, those guys have been absolutely tearing the cover off the ball as well, especially Pete Alonso. He's putting up ridiculous numbers so far with his home runs and RBIs, and I think he's going to continue as well. But they got 2 games against Houston at home, which could really determine who gets this second and third spot next week as well. Speaking of that, we got those Astros. Jordan, I think he is the second place MVP getter right now behind Aaron Judge. 312 average, 22 home runs, 54 RBIs. Hey, what more do you want from this guy? He's doing it all. Jeremy Pena as well. He's a 277 average in his rookie year, and it's always tough to replace Correa. He's doing a pretty good job over there, making some good plays, hitting the ball good, and I think you can't ask more from the kid. They have 6 games this week as well. 2 against the Mets at third place, 1 at home against the Yankees, and then 3 at home against the Angels. And I think those will be, a good 6 games to see really where this Astros team's at this week. And of course, at 1, we have the New York Yankees staying put for their 6th time here at number 1. They're the best team in MLB by far. It's not even close. And a lot of people are saying, can this team get to 116 wins? Honestly, right now, the trajectory they're at, yeah, why not? They're 20-5 in their last 25. Aaron Judge has been MVP worthy. I mean, that's pretty obvious to say. They have a team ERA under 3, which is second best in the MLB. And this week they got, some pretty easy series, I would say. 3 against Oakland at home. They should win all 3 there. That'll be a tough game in Houston. And then, could trip up a little bit in Cleveland. But this Yankees team, I mean, how can you not say they're the best team in baseball right now after, the big offseason they had, trading a few guys, bringing in Donaldson, Nestor Cortez coming out of nowhere. The bullpen kind of coming out of nowhere as well. They don't even have Chapman right now. And this Yankees team, I feel like, is only going to get better as the season goes on. But that's going to be it for the video today. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below or in the corner there, the little Bench Buddies logo. But, we got to be getting that up so we can get to that 500 subscriber giveaway. Until the next time, the Bench Buddies are out.